Welcome to the In-Depth Genealogist Chit Chat Live for the week of April 23rd, 2017. Hi, everyone. I'm Valerie Eichler-Laird, your host for the IDG Chit Chat Live. We have a lot to chat about. It's like genealogy on steroids. It's back to back to back genealogy TV. It's awesome, but it's like, oh my gosh, exhausting. Joining me tonight are Terry O'Connell. She's the executive director of IDG. Hi, Terry.
Hey, Val, how are you?
I'm good, good. And then we have Sherry Hudson Passy. She is the blogger for Carolina Genealogy Girl, and she's also a writer for the In-Depth magazine. Hi, Sherry.
Hi, Val. How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you smile, but I know you had tissues.
Yeah, just a little depressed.
And then we have Mary Kircher-Roddy. She's a professional genealogist with MKR Genealogy. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Val. Nice to be here.
Have you? And oh my goodness, all the way from Glasgow, Scotland is our Canadian buddy, Christine Woodcock. Hi, Christine.
Hey.
How's every little thing
right across the sea?
I know. And we figured it out. It was what, 6 hours time difference?
Yep.
From Minnesota or Central Time to Scotland. Well, it's
it's
great to
5
have
Eastern.
you. Great to have you. Thank you for joining, everyone. So today we're going to talk about relative race, and then who do you think you are, and then long lost family. And I will bring up some points on the relative race after everyone is done, because what they're going to be mentioning possibly is in the rules, and I'm one who follows the rules. So anyway, I'm going to toss it to Terry first.
Well, with Sherry, it was completely a sad evening Sunday. I sat there with tears rolling down my face. I will tell you this Joe Greer from the black team is a very humble man. At the end of the day, they lost. They got their third strike. They were sent home. And he said it doesn't matter what happens with that race. No amount of money could give him what he got on the 8 days that he participated. Which, if we recount, it was meeting his father, meeting two sisters, a great aunt, and not even mentioning what his wife met, who his wife met, I should say. Completely sad to see them go. I think they were robbed completely. I don't know, Sherry, what are your thoughts?
Oh, absolutely robbed. I mean, what was with the fuzzy dice? Why didn't they? That could have been a game changer. The fuzzy dice should have been a magical something for something to win. Go to straight first place, something. I'm a little bitter that they got the fuzzy dice. But anyway, I think my favorite part of this episode when he was meeting his sisters was when the one sister looked at him and said, "I loved you before I met you." Oh my gosh. Talking about tears. Oh, that was just, tears. And then when she showed him that picture of the father, oh my gosh, spitting image of Joe. What an incredible gift. And she gave him a copy of that picture. An incredible gift. And so the Twitterverse on Sunday night was very upset about the whole thing and how it had worked out and how it, they were going home and the fuzzy dice and just everything. They were upset about that. But we all agreed that he won. In the long run, he won. Look at, that was his goal. As I sat and talked to him at Roots Tech, that's what he talked about, is wanting to know more about his father. And the way he was in person is just the way he was on that show. Just very humble and just saying that was the best experience of his life. And now I know why, because he was able to meet that family. So although it was sad and I'm still bitter and it's going to take me a while to get over it, I will root on whoever wins and enjoy the final next week. What about you, Mary?
And same thing. I was so sad to see them leave. And just a little angry because last year the team didn't have to leave the night. They let the teams know when the final strike, they let them know the next morning. And I just, what is the plane flight cheaper at 8 o'clock at night that you're going to steal them away and you can't wait till 8 o'clock in the morning? It's just ridiculous. But the other thing I really liked, now that Team Black is gone, I just loved Team Blue and him out there with the lawnmower and cutting the grass and making the stripes and really doing it just because, he's a lawn guy, which some guys are, but also because, it was a way that he could help his wife bond with her family. And I just thought that was a really giving way to do that. And I really appreciated that. How about you,
He's a good guy. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I love Dooley. I've liked him right from the get-go. I think he's really quite funny. I'd like to spend some time with him. Joe, what can you say? He's humble. His wife is humble. Just amazing. Sherry, I think the fuzzy dice should have been like a GPS.
There you go. That's right. Fantastic. Yes.
GPS.
Yes.
And
they would just listen to us.
Yeah, I know all along they have told them at night that they have a strike, but for me the whole thing is you don't carry on in the race, and the race actually didn't start again until the next morning. So I think they could have given him the evening with his newly found sisters. That was just he was robbed for that for sure. But what really took me by surprise, I think, when we learned, when the other teams learned that Joe had met his father, they were stunned and thrilled for him. And last night, or whatever night, I watched it this morning, but what night? Sunday night? When the blue team found out that, it was only 60 seconds, 1 minute difference. It really struck home with them that, wow, he's met his two sisters, and because of 60 lousy seconds, he's leaving. So, yeah, that really caught me with their reaction as well.
Well, let me explain. And Terry, maybe you could put the link for this blog from Relative Race Frequently Asked Questions. Thank you, Sherry, for pointing those out. We can put them in the comments for the IDG chat. But there's a question, frequently asked question. What happens when a team receives 3 strikes and is eliminated? And it says, I quote, "The math works out so that unfortunately at least one team is likely to be eliminated before the final day of relative race. When a team receives 3 strikes, the race is over for them that night. But don't worry, relative race still provides the eliminated teams with contact information for each of their 10 relatives so they don't miss out." And at the end of the day, it says, after all, relative race is really all about family. So it was in the rules, which I wasn't aware of that particular point, because I was saying the same thing. What do you mean? At night, just wait until the next morning. Spend the night with them. Pull an all-nighter.
Yeah.
So, but there's several other questions. I found it interesting about the speed limit, that they get a strike if they go over the speed. So it's a good thing I'm not in that show. But my favorite part, of course, how I love, near and dear to my heart, are cemeteries. And so when the red team's cousin showed them she cleaned the tombstones and posted photographs and submitted information to find a grave, I thought that was really, touching that, she did that. And because of that, I watched really carefully, because I follow the proper standards of cleaning a tombstone and doing a rubbing or a photograph. And I refer everyone to the Association for Gravestone Studies. Terry will put up the link to their website on the comments below in our chat session. They give all the rules and do's and don'ts of taking care of cemetery tombstones, the areas around and stuff. So please, everyone, follow that. So the results were first place with 6 minutes over was green. Yay, Colorado Springs. And for their prize, they chose to have 5 minutes taken off of their time next week. Second place, 8 minutes over, was blue. Third place, and it's only 1 minute, was the black. And then in fourth place, 23 minutes over, was red. But because they had immunity, they were automatically pushed over to day 9. That meant that the blue team got their third strike, and that's why they were eliminated.
Black team.
Black team.
I'm sorry, black team.
That's why we're in mourning.
The black team. That's why they were sent home. And then the rule that I just read from the frequently asked questions. So I wish them all the success in being with their family, and Joe and all that he gained. I mean, he won. I get all choked up. He won. I mean, who gains 4 cousins, a great aunt, and a cousin of hers, and a dad, and 2 sisters? It's like, oh my gosh.
Let's not mention the brother and the nephew that are out there that we know of.
That's right. That probably would have been the next stop.
Right. And so, anyway.
Can I say one thing about that, though? Because when he met his dad, he's got a sister that was with his dad. And he said
agree.
2 sisters. And that kind of disturbed me in the Sunday's episode when he talked about 2 sisters. It's like, what is she, chopped liver?
I thought you, Mary.
Yeah, I hear you. And they mentioned about the brother, the boy, that he had a son, another son. So I'm thinking that, like you said, that could be the next 2. But they get all that contact information. You know that they're just biting at the bit for this series to be done, so they can just scream out to the world, and have, I would think, lots of pictures shown. So we'll look forward to that. For the first time, I went onto Twitter and looked at all the tweets and stuff after the show. I saw your tweets, Sherry. So yeah. Okay. Any other about relative race? Yeah, we saw what happens. It'll be interesting to see what goes on now, because they're down to just the final 2 days, and that's going to be a double episode. For the last showing, so really on steroids. Okay, next up is Who Do You Think You Are? And this week it was with Liv Tyler, and it was special because her dad is Steven Tyler, and those of us who grew up, with the rock bands and so forth, it was even more special, I thought. But I will toss it to you, Terry, to go into about Who Do You Think You Are?
Well, I was really excited before the episode started because the commercials showed that Steven was going to be in the show. And let's face it, the man is a character. He cracks me up. When he did his stint on American Idol, I think those were the best seasons ever, because you just never knew what was coming out of his mouth. And he even got bleeped on Who Do You Think You Are? And I thought that was hysterical. But that being said, there's a couple things that I really liked about it. I liked when they started the show, Liv talked about her first 8 years and how she thought, and I can't remember his name, but whoever it was.
Todd Rundgren.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, him. How that was her father. That was, he knew there was a possibility it might not be his, but that was her dad. And how at 8, her mom introduced her to Steven because they were still friends. And she put it together by his mannerisms and the things they did. She just figured it out. I thought, that's really perceptive for a little kid, between 8 and 11 to put those clues together. Like, oh my gosh, we look alike. Oh my God, I do that too. I don't know. But at the end, when Steven came in and they were sitting and talking, and she told him that I think it was his 4th great grandfather, who was George Washington Eliot, was actually a mulatto man. He just thought it was the coolest information ever because he had always felt a connection to the African American community. So kudos to him for taking that very well, because we know there's been other stars who like don't want to talk about. So he was really great. But it made me think, because how many of us look at our genealogy and there's that one line. There's that one line that calls to us because we feel a connection to the heritage, or maybe it's just the name. Who knows? You know, for me, it was like the O'Connell name, and then it became the O'Connell heritage, and now it's just Ireland in general. Like, why am I not there now? So I totally understood his, like, he felt akin to that, and he just thought it was the best thing ever. I definitely would have liked to have seen DNA taken maybe on the both of them to see if any of that shows up. But who knows? What were your thoughts, Sherry?
I enjoyed this episode so much, and a lot of it was because of the way Liz was reacting. I do a lot of beginning classes. I do a lot of teaching and coaching in my business, and I love being able to help people find records and find those discoveries. And so when she was finding them, watching her do her little genealogy happy dance was so much fun to watch her do that. She enjoyed every minute of this journey, learning about her father's ancestors. I loved the fact that they were musicians. How many times have we seen on these shows those connections coming down through the generations? I loved that he was a musician, that generations were musicians, and they played the drums. And so, I mean, not just a musician, but a drummer. I mean, hello. And when they came in and played the drums for her, and the tears, you know, she was,
oh my God.
Yes, she was so into this episode, and it made me enjoy it even more. And I think it brought other people into the episode because of how much she was enjoying it. So I think the best part for me was watching her enjoyment and how she just loved being able to tell her dad all these things, and take him to the cemetery and just talk to him about all the things that she had discovered. So her joy in this episode really just thrilled me and just made it even more special to watch. Mary?
I had a couple. One of the ones that I thought was really interesting when they were talking about the Battle of Gettysburg, and she said, he didn't die? And it's like, well, you wouldn't be here if he had. So no, he didn't die. That part just had me laughing. But the interesting thing, and they kind of, passed over it, and I had to go back and look at that 1870 census, because the ancestor, I think it was Robert Elliot, looked like it had maybe been written that he was white and then changed to mulatto. His wife was from England, and she was likely and listed as white. But then there were several of his children in the house that if he was mulatto, they would have also been mulatto. And it was interesting to me that they were not listed as mulatto. And I just kind of, I didn't, I wonder why that happened.
I'm just kind of thinking as you're talking, Mary, and when you looked at the picture of him at the end of the episode, he absolutely did not.
That wasn't him. That was his father. That was the son. That was not. Yeah.
Well, I think that makes it maybe why they weren't listed as mulatto, because they really did just pass for white. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, but he had been passing for white on the 1850 and 1860 census, and it was 1870 that he's listed as mulatto. So, I don't know why, but and if you're going through and calculating, if there's a mulatto parent in the house, then the children are pretty much automatically mulatto. So, anyway, how about you, Christine? Did you get a chance to see the episode?
No, we get different episodes over here. I was really lucky the day I arrived, there was a marathon, so I got all caught up on that. But, just listening to you guys talk, and Sherry, one of the most humbling moments for me this week has been, the last 2 weeks, has been watching my tour participants do their happy dance every single day, delving into the records, finding the stories. It has just been incredible. One of them said she felt like she was drinking from a fire hose.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that has been really. And I understand that there was some chit chat on Facebook about Masonic records. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And we were in the Glasgow City Archives. Yesterday was our first day. And you know what? I go in there and I don't know how manages on a daily basis, because I am just in awe with the old books and the original records, and every single person is getting their own "Who do you think you are" moment. And I picked up a book and I was leafing through it, and I thought, well, this is kind of interesting. And it was just sort of like it was like an index, and then it had some dates and some money. And I thought, wonder what they're paying. And I flipped it over to the cover, and it was the roll call for the incorporation of Freemasons for 1760.
Nice.
And I thought, wow, wow, now I know what I'm looking at. Let me look again. Yeah, that was really cool.
Fantastic. And now we know why you're on tonight, because you can tell us about those records.
Yeah, it's so cool.
That's why you woke up at 11:45.
I know. I
To
tell
let
you
us
everything
know.
that's happened in the poor law records. Yeah, it's been great.
Well, to piggyback on your Masonic records, I do have, it's a laminated guide. It's Genealogy Quick Tips, and it is published by mygenealogybooks.com, and it's on Masonic research. So I just wanted to put that out there. And I think that there's a lot of great information in here. I read it a couple of years ago. But when you find your Masons at the local level, your next step is basically to hit the state to see kind of where they went. Because in their local level, they go to the 3rd degree. And then after that, they move on and decide like which rites they want to follow. And you have to figure out which rite they are to find out how far they really went. Last year when I went to West Virginia, I met with my grandfather's first cousin, and we were talking about some stuff, and I made comments about how I was so excited to find out that my great-grandfather was a Mason. And when I finally got to West Virginia, I was so excited to see his tombstone because I wanted to see the symbolism on it. There wasn't one symbol. And she's like, oh yeah, but he was a Mason. She's like, because I have his Mason books.
Oh.
So she took them out, and I took some pictures. So I will probably put up a post on my personal page with some more information on that. But it was really cool to hold those and see. And from that, I did learn, because I didn't know which route he went, that he did follow the Scottish rites. So now I can send in for more information to see how far he really went. And one of the things on here is, and this was done in 2013, well, probably 2013. It says 2113.
Ooh, the head of its time.
Time traveler.
But there are some state records online for the states of Kentucky, Nebraska, New York, Massachusetts, Ohio, Oklahoma, Washington, and West Virginia. I didn't know that. And that's at gwmemorial.org. So I'm going to put that link in the list as well. So I just wanted to
interrupt for a second, Tara. My girlfriend's dad, grandfather, great-grandfather were all in the Masons. She not only has their book, she has their apron and their pins.
Amazing.
I said she needs to put it in a frame or something, right?
Well, my son is 2nd degree Mason. And he's not gone for his 3rd degree because he moved back to North Dakota, and he doesn't have time to study to become the 3rd degree. But when he is ready, I think he's going back to Mississippi to do the 3rd degree with the brothers that he started with, because he just has a very good friendship with them. So when I want information now, I go to him and be like, where do I get this?
Great. And if anyone needs any from Freeborn County, Minnesota, or southern Minnesota, I live like less than a mile from the Masonic Lodge. And I can go right there to look up the records. I wanted to bring up a quick point before I end this section, but it was the historian when she showed him the photograph of her ancestor wearing the uniform of the Masons. It was mentioned then that he identified as white.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And that was, I believe, the 2nd or 3rd time or maybe 2nd time that was brought up. So, and to see that the uniform is like, oh my gosh, goosebumps. So,
Right,
but
because that's important because there were two
there were two
Masonic groups.
separate-
There's I think it's Prince Albert was the colored Masonic group, and then there was the regular Masonic group.
Yeah.
I think
So, but this was the last episode of Who Do You Think You Are? And that makes me sad and tear up because I feel that this season was outstanding. They did an excellent job showing all different kinds of records and types of records and documents, and a good job of emphasizing how to prove the stories and the family lore. I thought they went above and beyond in this season more so. I just think the whole season as a whole was one of the best seasons, and I've got so many notes from each show. What I want to do is make a spreadsheet because I want to make sure that if I want to go back to my notes on a certain locality or certain record type, and I recommend that for everybody to do. That gives you good resources. So again, to me it was an outstanding season, and looking forward to next time.
You kill me with your organizational skills, Val.
Yes.
Listen, it's so bad. Like, I think of you. I have this book, and I have to tell you really quick. It is the Atlas to the Great Potato Famine. It is like that thick, okay? And I'm thinking I need to tab it like you did EE's evidence, the Evidence Explained book, and tab it by county, and tab it by O'Connell's, and tab it by the poor law units. That's just bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And then, of course, too, it's the OCD in me that, I have my front worksheet, which I want to make that. I'll get with Terry and Jennifer on how we can get that available for people, because it's really helped me over the last 9 seasons. That's how long ago I created this. And when I mess up the first part of it, it's like, throw that away. Let's start new. So. Anyway, but yeah, thanks for noticing the organization. But you have to be, and I think one of you had asked in a previous chat Dustin maybe, if I had made a spreadsheet so I can go back right away to a particular episode. No, I don't. But Who Do You Think You Are made one up to, I think, season 7. But I still want to. What areas, especially so much of Jewish research, and this one, there was a blog post. I don't know if you all caught it, where the group, professional researcher in Germany, her section was left out, and they had done research on a pastor in a place in Germany. So. But anyway, we could go on and on. We've already gone over time. Oh my gosh, I have to reset my timer. Okay, long lost family. We're going to end today's chat with. And I wanted to point out that secrets, and I put that in capital letters, can really be revealed with DNA. And in Long Lost Family, they require each person to do a DNA test. And you really need to be ready to accept the surprises. And for Shannon's segment, that was the first one in Sunday's show. It was DNA connecting not one, but 2 first cousins. And I think that was the closest connection. The other episodes were second to fourth cousin or beyond that. So that really caught my eye. It was 2 first cousins. And then how they had to build out the trees for both. And, that takes time. That just doesn't happen in 44 minutes. But what I liked how they pointed out was they used the records, they built out the trees, and then they triangulate to find the common ancestor. And so we need to point that out and emphasize that to everyone. But it was a really good episode. And there's one more left to go, but that's what I wanted to point out. And especially since this week is National DNA Day, it was a year ago that I bought my first DNA kit and took my DNA test, and it led me to find out about my mom, who was adopted. and brought me to her biological mom. And I have a picture where I had overlaid her photo and her bio mom, and they're exactly alike. So you talk about traits being passed down. And when I first saw that, it was maybe about 10 weeks after I had taken my DNA test a year ago. So a year ago plus 10 weeks that I saw this picture just jump out at me on my computer. And I can't tell you the feelings and the emotions. It's still, it gives me goosebumps. And so I've really enjoyed that part of Long Lost Family. And it was, after all, seeing a Long Lost Family episode said, okay, this really grabbed my heartstring. I need to do that. And boom. And but be careful when you do that. And I think, Terry, you've mentioned that before, is to be patient. Not everybody's going to respond back to you, or like myself, I'm hesitant reaching out to the descendants of my biological grandmother. So just to be careful.
You have to be careful, you have to be patient, and you have to be ready for whatever the answers are going to give you. I will say this, patience-wise, like for my autosomal DNA testing, I have 2 second cousin hits, and the rest, a couple, like maybe 6 third, and a gazillion fourth and further. Both of the second cousin matches, I know who they are. The first one of them I didn't, but once I sent her a thing, she replied, and she replied again. She's like, oh, this is so-and-so's daughter. And I was like, I already know you. And then one of the third cousins I knew as well. So, and I took mine, I was a beta tester when they did Ancestry DNA. So I was one of the first tests out there. I'm still waiting for those, big discoveries to come, And same for like Y-DNA testing. I've not learned a lot from it, but it's out there and it's sitting, and hopefully one day, we'll get better hits on it. But I definitely think it is a great tool to use in your research. And if you don't know a lot about DNA and how to use it for genealogy purposes, in the shop on our website, theinDepthGenealogist.com, we do have an in-brief laminated guide, $9.95, and it's an in-brief to genetic genealogy. So that's a good one to go. Shannon is really great at explaining DNA to the regular person who is not a science geek.
Mm-hmm. Great. And you'll put that in the comments below the chat?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Well, talking about looking alike, Mary, what caught your eye?
Well, on that episode, and I forget the family, but it was the girl who her mom had given her up for adoption, and then wound up marrying the father a couple years later after she left the Air Force. And just the girl that she just looked so much like both her parents. But I forget which one of you it was that also brought up Liv Tyler and seeing the mannerisms when she was 8 and she met Steven Tyler and saw, whatever, the way you move your hands or whatever. And it's interesting to see there was, and I can't think of whether it was even a Sunday night or Monday night of Long Lost Family, but somebody, the way she brushed her hair back, it was just like, oh, your mom just did that same exact thing. And so that's such an innate thing because she didn't even learn that from her mom. It was just what that gene does. So that was really interesting to me to see.
Yeah. And she was so young. And so to see, her mom and dad, being high school sweethearts, and then, being apart and back together. And then the box of all the cards and notes that they did for all of her birthdays and holidays. It's like, oh my gosh, that I can see that going on.
And I think that opened her up because she seemed a little reticent, and even on the camera, once she agreed to meet them, she wasn't really sure she wanted to do that. But I just saw a change in her face when they brought that out. That
she was scared. Yeah, she was scared. She said that.
Yeah. But when she saw that, it wasn't like, okay, these are strangers or my biological parents. Yeah. These are people that love me. They know nothing about me, but they wholeheartedly love me.
Yep. So that was, and then to meet the rest of the family
siblings
being there.
Of course, they needed a little more furniture in that room. they had all of them sitting on the couch. They had, like, yeah, just one little 2-seater sofa and a chair, and they.
Well, I wonder if that house was up for sale and they just staged it because nothing else was around. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I wonder how they picked those locations. But yeah, so go back and either rewatch those episodes or watch them if you haven't caught them yet. During our chat right now, there's another 2 segments on Long Lost Family, and so we'll have to watch those and catch up with those for our next chat. I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. Sherry and Christine, Mary and Terry, thank you so much. I want to also mention that we had a couple of comments on our chat, so thank you. We really appreciate letting us know that you're out there. And what would you like to see us chat about, maybe? Because when the genealogy shows are done, oh my gosh, what are we going to talk about? There's a lot of genealogy to talk about, but we'd love to hear from you. So drop us a line in the comments below, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to the IDG's YouTube channel, or send us a simple email to info@indepthgenealogist.com. So we'll see you all next time. Keep going in depth with all of your ancestors. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.